Hi homeschoolers, it's me Jazz again from Hidden Library Homeschool, and I'm back with another curriculum video. In this video I'm going to show you some of what my son is going to be using for 3rd grade language arts. So I'm probably going to have to break up language arts into 2 different videos because I have lots of reading and literature books here and also our handwriting books, and the rest of language arts is probably going to have to be in another video just so this one doesn't end up being too terribly long. So the first thing I have to show you is True Lies, 18 Tales for You to Judge. From kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade, we went over some of Aesop's fables and talked about the story, talked about the morals in them, and so we're going to move on to this book. And this talks about lots of different stories and tales that people are telling, and you're supposed to figure out what is the truth and what is the lie. So for the first one, the mom tells the kids that they can have a cookie before dinner, and the kids do have one cookie before dinner, but it's one giant cookie. So you're supposed to figure out what's the lie and what's the truth. And there's lots of different stories in here and lots of illustrations. So we're going to use this probably as just a little short discussion time every other week. For handwriting, I had something already picked out that I was going to use, but then when I started to put together all of our other language arts curriculum, I realized that there was a lot of writing already in our curriculum, so I didn't want to have something that was long for handwriting. My son chooses to write in print when we do school, which is fine with me, but I still want him to practice cursive. So what we're going to be using for cursive is actually this dictionary, Scholastic Dictionary of Idioms. My son's been asking me a lot of what things mean and why people just don't say what they mean, so I figured we would go over some of the idioms within the English language. So in order to do that, for cursive, I am using this CD, Start Right. I've had this for years, and I just make up my own handwriting worksheets for this. There's lots of different writing styles that you can pick with this. We choose the modern manuscript, or it's kind of more Daniel-y, but they call it modern manuscript on this. So I'm gonna make up some handwriting worksheets for him for this. I'm not sure if we're gonna do this 2 days a week or 3 days a week, but what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have him give him an idiom, have him look it up, so kind of a little bit of dictionary skills there. And he's going to have to write the idiom in cursive, write the meaning out in cursive, and then I'll have a section for him to draw a picture of what it looks like, a picture of what it sounds like, and then what it actually means, and then on the bottom write it in a sentence or tell me in what situation that you would use that idiom. So there's no pictures or anything in this, but I do want him to use, it's just words, not much to show, but I do want him to use this for dictionary kind of practice, looking things up, but also to learn some of the idioms in the English language. Also for handwriting, I have 365 Days of Wonder. So one of these will probably do 2 days a week and the other one will do 3 days a week. I'm just not sure how we're going to break that up just yet. But in this book, it has lots of different quotes about being kind and being nice, and I'm just going to have him write the quote out in cursive. So the reason I picked this book was after reading the book Wonder. So I heard about this book and I heard that it was also going to be a movie, I think later on this year, maybe even next year. But I wanted him to read this before the movie came out. I wanted him to read it for the moral and story and the perspective within this book, because our theme for next year is nature, perspective, and technology, and this definitely goes with the theme of perspective. This book is divided up into many different sections on different people within this boy's life, and the boy is a little bit different than his other classmates, and just talking about his journey through school and how other people view him. So when it gets to one of the sections on this his older sister's boyfriend, the boyfriend doesn't use any capitals or quotes, and it drove me insane. So I was a little bit hesitant about using this within school, but it is such a good story that I do want my son to read, so I am going to have him read this probably towards the beginning of the school year. I have some other books that I showed in some other hauls that we saved for 3rd grade. The first book I have is The One and Only Ivan, and this book is based off of an actual animal, but of course it is fictional because it is telling from the animal's perspective. There are a little bit of pictures in here. I wanted to save this because I think it's something that he will be able to read. Last year we were still finishing up all of our reading, but this year, since we have no phonics program, he has a lot more books to read. I also have Zormagazoo, and this is a chapter book written entirely in rhyme. This is such a great story, such a great book, and we're probably going to do this when we go over poetry. I like that it uses lots of different fonts in order to show how things feel and how things might look. So we're going to be using this book. There are a couple of illustrations, but not too many. We also have The Water Horse. My kids have already watched this video. I think it's on Netflix, it might be on Amazon, but they've already watched this, but I want him to read the book. There's not too many illustrations in here, but there's a couple, and it's about the Loch Ness Monster. We also have The Wild Robot, and this definitely goes with our theme of nature, perspective, and technology. This robot was stranded on an island, and it talks about the robot, how it survives on the island. And I think that there's another book coming out maybe later on this year, but I think it might be actually next year. And this just goes over the robot's life on that island and how it makes friends with all the animals there. I also have, we're probably going to be doing these as audiobooks. We have James and the Giant Peach. We have The Tale of Despero. And then we also have The Borrowers. I have The Bears on Hemlock Mountain, which I was debating on doing last year for second grade, but we ended up going through so many different books that we just didn't have time for another one, so I left this for third grade. And since it's so short and so simple, he'll probably be doing this more towards the beginning of the school year. I also have Nim's Island, and there are a couple illustrations in here, but since my son has finished his phonics program, we're moving more on to just to more chapter books, bigger chapter books, and reading. And since they talk a little bit about a Robinson Crusoe and the Swiss Family Robinson in this one, I do have the Stepping Stones Swiss Family Robinson. And this is something, I think it's a third grade level, so he'll be able to read this out loud to me. I also have the Three Musketeers, and I was debating on putting this within history or within language arts, but, I mean, we'll read it, so, and I guess it doesn't really matter. We have The Dragon of Lonely Island, and this is about a three-headed dragon, and from each of the heads of the dragon, stories that the dragon is telling to some children. I also have All About Sam, and this is a book about a little boy and him growing up and how he sees the world. There are not too many illustrations in it, but he's going to be reading this book. And of course, I have a load of Horrible Harry books. We have Horrible Harry moves up to the third grade, Dragon War, we have Bugs the Three Bears, The Missing Diamond, we have The Goog, The Scarlet Scissors, The Mud Gremlins, The Ropes, On the Ropes, Cracks the Code, The Secret Treasure, The Hallway Bully, and then we also have The Wedding Spies. So those are mostly the Horrible Harry books are what he's going to be reading aloud to me for, out loud reading practice. I also have one picture book, and I was a little bit hesitant, another one that I was hesitant about putting in third grade because it is a picture book, but there are a lot of words within this book. Hewitt Anderson's Great Big Life. And there are a lot of words in this one. But since it's a picture book, I might actually have him read this to his younger brothers. It's about a boy who is born into a giant family, but he is not a giant. But then he sees that he can still be a big help, even though he is smaller and not as big as the rest of his family. In the beginning of the year, we'll probably be reading this book, You Wouldn't Want to Live Without Books. And this is just like the other You Wouldn't Want to Be books. It talks about how writing has gone from tablets and scrolls, and then how nowadays it's into ebooks, and it talks about the printing press and things like that. I also have Reading Fundamentals. We did the second grade one last year, and in this one, it is a little bit different. Last year it had half a page and then the questions on the bottom. This year it's almost a whole page and then the questions on another page. So there's a lot less articles within this book. So we're probably only going to be doing this once a week. We have one homeschool class that we go to during the week, and we usually spend that day out. But I do want him to do a little bit of school before we go, so he's probably going to be doing this on that day. That's all the books. Since I want him to do some book reports and kind of writing about the books and keeping track of the books that he's doing, I was trying to find something for him to be able to do that with. And I didn't want him to have to write a book report for each one or for us to have a book log for each one, because or for him to have to write the book log for each one, because it just didn't work out too much last year with me writing it, because I just, you know, got tired of writing all of those down, but I want him to keep track of them himself. So we have Bookworm, a reading log for kids and their parents. So we have this one, and they write their name in the beginning and whose book journal it is. The kids write the day that they're reading the book, the title, the author, and then it has over here a section for them to write who read the book, read it all myself, read and listened, or listened the whole time. They put their rating, the parent rating, and then they can write a little bit about what they thought about the book. And on the other page, when you turn it around, it has some things like new vocabulary from the book, finishing, let's see, what else does it have on here? Think about the story that you've just read and write down what you think happened before the story, and lots of different things for the kids to write on the back, come up with their own tales. And at the end of the book, let's see if we can, at the end of the book, they are to write their own story. It also has some recommendations for reading for kids. And all of these pages right here, because it's a bookworm. So at the, let's see, this right here, it is perforated. Every time you finish a book, you rip this part off and you feed it to the worm. So I thought this would be a fun way of him keeping track of the books that he's reading on his own, because I have my own little system for keeping track of it, but I do want him to take a little bit more responsibility, since he's going to be in 3rd grade, for what he is doing within his schooling, and keep track of some of the things himself also. And for all of those books that I just showed you, since he always is stealing my book depository bookmarks, I did go to Target and pick him up his own bookmarks just for $1. There are 24 of them, and he's going to be using these for him. We also have, for the library, I have picked up from Target again some backpacks. I thought this was a good buy. It was at $5, and I wanted them to have their own backpacks for the library, because last year the book bags that we used didn't last. We don't need anything too big, because we actually don't use the library for school too much, because as you can see, we buy our own books usually. But he does get to pick out his own books for what he just wants to do for fun and reading. So I have these small little backpacks. These were $5, which I thought was a good buy. I have one for for my older sons. But then I went to Walmart and saw one that was just a little bit bigger for my younger son, and this was actually only like $2.47. So this was actually a lot cheaper. So they're going to be using these as their library backpacks, and also when we go to different activities, they can put, you know, their notebook and crayons or colored pencil, whatever they want in those for the kind of activities. So that is all that I have for our reading language arts video for this video actually. I will be back with another video with the rest of our language arts with grammar and all that good stuff there. So thanks for checking this video out from Hidden Library Homeschool. Please like, comment, and subscribe below. Bye.